Hello, everyone. Tonight, we're not just exploring a topic. We're stepping into a different kind of quiet. Imagine yourself settling into your favorite chair or curling up under a soft blanket. The world outside is fading. The day's noise is a distant memory. This is your space, a peaceful harbor where we can let our curiosity drift gently. Tonight, our journey begins in the most familiar and yet most mysterious of places, the theater of the dreaming mind. It's a journey filled with strange stories your mind tells while you're out, cold brainwaves that look like abstract art, and a few surprises that may just change how you think about sleep. It's a journey where we explore the most beautiful and strange landscapes that exist, those within ourselves. I should offer a word of caution, a lighthearted disclaimer, of course. You see, the secrets we're about to uncover might be so fascinating that they could just maybe keep you awake. But don't you worry if you find yourself still listening, still curious even as the world around you quiets. Then that's a beautiful thing. It means the voyage is just as important as the destination. The knowledge you gain is its own reward, and a fair trade, I'd say, for a few extra moments of wakefulness. Now, before you go and watch, please take a moment to like and subscribe to this video, but only if you truly enjoy what I do. And if you're comfortable, I'd love to know where in the world you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the night. Share it in the comments below, and we can all feel a little more connected, a part of this quiet community. Now take a deep breath. Settle in. Let's begin our quiet voyage into the theater of the dreaming mind. Our first stop on this journey is not in a lab or a textbook, but far, far back in time. We're traveling to an era when the night sky was the only ceiling and the whispers of the wind were believed to be the voices of the gods. In this ancient dreamscape, a dream wasn't just a random flicker of images. It was a profound divine message, a direct line to the celestial. Imagine you're an ancient Babylonian. You live in a world governed by the whims of deities, where every flood, every harvest, every star in the sky tells a story. When you close your eyes and fall into slumber, you're not just resting, you're stepping into the sacred. To you, a dream is an omen, a prophecy, a glimpse into the future sent by the gods. They don't have neuroscience or sleep labs, but they have something else: faith. They believe the gods are speaking to them directly, and they spend a great deal of time and effort deciphering these cryptic messages. They even have professional dream interpreters, the first sleep-time oracles poring over clay tablets and scrolls. This is one of the earliest and most widespread beliefs about dreams. If you dreamt of a cat, a flood, or a flying crocodile, someone probably had a scroll for that. This isn't just a belief. It's an entire system of thought, a cornerstone of their society. Now drift a bit further to ancient Egypt. You find yourself in a world of pyramids, pharaohs, and hieroglyphs. Here, dreams are just as important, but with a different flavor. The Egyptians believed that during sleep, the soul leaves the body and travels to a different realm. This is how you can fly, how you can speak with your ancestors, and how you can receive messages from the gods themselves. They have dream books, which are detailed guides on how to interpret various dream symbols. A dream of a snake might mean one thing for a farmer and another for a pharaoh. It's a complex symbolic language that everyone from the lowliest peasant to the most powerful king takes seriously. They use dreams to guide military strategy, make decisions about harvests, and even to heal the sick. In fact, they build special temples called sleep temples, where people would go to sleep and hopefully receive a healing dream from the gods. This wasn't just a quirky superstition. It was a form of medicine, a belief that the mind, through its nightly journey, could find the cure for the body. The Assyrians, too, have a fascinating approach. For them, a bad dream isn't just a bad dream. It's a sign that an evil spirit is trying to influence you. So they have rituals, incantations, and prayers to ward off these spirits. They would wake up and immediately perform a cleansing ritual, whispering words to the morning sun to chase away the darkness from their minds. It's a beautiful poetic way of dealing with the things that go bump in the night, a ritual of turning fear into hope. But here's a thought. A detail often overlooked: this belief in dreams, as divine messages, isn't limited to a few big empires. It's a human, universal. Indigenous tribes in North America, ancient Chinese scholars and African shamans, all of them in different parts of the world, independently arrive at a similar conclusion: dreams are a window to a world beyond. They are a way for us to connect with our ancestors, with the spirits of nature, and with the collective wisdom of our people. The quiet, unhurried nature of this belief is what truly strikes me. There's no frantic urgency, no need for instant answers. It's a slow contemplative process. You have a dream, you wake up, and you spend the day pondering its meaning, discussing it with elders and searching for its significance in the world around you. This is a far cry from our modern approach, where we often wake up from a dream, scratch our heads for a second, and then immediately check our phones. This ancient belief that the mind's nightly wanderings are a source of profound truth is a beautiful one. It suggests that there's a wisdom in stillness, a message in the quiet. It's a world where every single one of us is a potential prophet, a messenger for a higher power. It's a world where the most important thing you can do for your community is not to work harder or to fight a battle, but simply to listen more closely to the whispers in your sleep. Historians still debate whether these cultures truly believed in the literal divine origin of dreams, or if they were using these narratives as a way to create social cohesion and explain the unexplainable. It's a question of faith versus function. But regardless of the answer, the result is the same: dreams are a central part of their lives, a source of meaning and purpose. There's a gentle humor in it too. Imagine an ancient Babylonian telling their dream interpreter, "I dreamt I was chased by a flying crocodile, but it was wearing a tiny hat." The interpreter would likely nod sagely and say, "Ah, the hat is the key. The hat represents." It's a reminder that even in the most serious of times, there's always a touch of the absurd, a hint of the strange, to keep us grounded. This journey into the ancient dreamscape is a reminder of our shared human history. The desire to find meaning in our dreams is as old as civilization itself. It's a story that's been told around countless campfires and whispered in countless temples. It's a story that connects us all, no matter where we are in the world or what time it is in our corner of the night. So as you continue to relax, to let your mind drift, I want you to hold on to this idea that your dreams are not just random noise. For thousands of years, people have believed that they are something more, something sacred, something deeply meaningful. And while our modern science might explain them differently, the wonder, the quiet magic remains. Now take a moment to reflect on this. Think about the last dream you had. What would an ancient Egyptian or Babylonian have made of it? Would they have found a prophecy, a warning, or a blessing? The answer, of course, is something we'll never know. But the question itself is beautiful, a bridge between our modern world and the ancient. And as you sink deeper into your seat, or your bed, or wherever you are, remember that you are a part of this long, unbroken chain of dreamers. You are the inheritor of a tradition that stretches back to the very dawn of humanity. And the journey you are on tonight, the journey into your own mind, is one that your ancestors would have recognized, revered, and perhaps even envied. They didn't have the science we have, but they had a sense of wonder that we can still learn from. They saw the night not as an empty space, but as a vibrant, living world full of meaning and mystery. And that, my friends, is a beautiful way to see the night. Just as the sun sets and the stars begin to emerge, so too does the mind begin its quiet work. The world around us becomes still, but the world within us begins to stir. The stories we are about to tell ourselves are as old as time, as timeless as the stars themselves. So let's continue this gentle, unhurried drift. Let's leave the world of ancient civilizations behind and drift forward in time to a new era of thought, a new way of seeing the world. A time when philosophers, not priests, began to ask the big questions. The journey continues, and your mind is the ship, and your dreams are the sea. From the land of pyramids and prophecies, our journey drifts forward, carried by the currents of time and thought. The year is now roughly 400 BCE, and the stage is set in ancient Greece, a place where a new kind of thinking is taking root. The celestial whispers of the gods are still heard, but they are now joined and in some cases challenged by the cool, clear light of reason. And in this new world of philosophy, a man named Aristotle steps onto the stage. He is not a priest or a soothsayer. He is a scholar, a keen observer of the natural world, a student of logic and biology. And when he looks at dreams, he doesn't see a message from the heavens. He sees something more grounded, something more human. He's one of the first thinkers to suggest that dreams might actually come from within the dreamer. They are not divine broadcasts, but rather they are a reflection of our own internal state. Imagine sitting with him in a quiet courtyard, the afternoon sun warming the marble. He's not telling you what the gods want you to know. He's asking you to observe, to notice. He suggests that dreams are the echoes of our waking life, the lingering impressions of our senses. If you've been working hard all day, or if you've been feeling a certain way, that feeling or that sensation might reappear in your sleep. He saw dreams as a sort of mental residue, the faint imprints of the day's activities on the mind. It's a beautiful, simple idea that shifts the entire paradigm. The divine is no longer outside of you, it is inside. This shift, this turning point in the history of ideas, is incredibly important. It takes the power of interpretation away from the high priests and gives it back to you, the individual. Suddenly, you're not just a passive receiver of a divine message. You're an active participant, a creator of your own inner world. It's a subtle but profound act of empowerment, a quiet revolution that begins in the space between your ears. But of course, the Greeks, being the philosophers they are, don't stop there. They argue. They debate. Plato, for instance, has a different take. He believes that dreams are a release valve for our baser desires, the ones we suppress in our waking lives. In a dream, he argues, we are free from the constraints of society and morality, and our most primitive urges can run wild. It's a less comforting view than Aristotle's suggesting that our dreaming mind is a shadowy, unruly place. It's the ancient version of what goes on in your head stays in your head. There is a charming story about Hippocrates, the father of medicine, and his perspective on dreams. He believed that dreams could be a diagnostic tool. He didn't think they were a message from the gods, but a message from the body itself. He would ask his patients about their dreams, looking for clues about their physical health. If you dreamt of cold water, it might indicate a problem with your lungs. If you dreamt of fire, it might be a fever. It was a kind of proto-mind-body connection theory thousands of years before we had the words for it. It's a remarkable, quiet little detail, isn't it? The idea that your dreaming self, in its own cryptic language, is trying to tell your waking self what's wrong with your body. And this leads us to a broader academic point. The debate over whether dreams are primarily a psychological phenomenon, as Plato and Freud would later argue, or a physiological one, as Aristotle and modern neuroscience would suggest, has been a constant thread throughout history. The very core of this discussion, the question of whether a dream is a purposeful narrative or a byproduct of a biological process, is still one of the most hotly contested issues in sleep science. Historians still debate whether Aristotle's views truly took hold in the general population, or if the older, more comforting belief in divine messages persisted for centuries more. Now, as you listen, you might notice the gentle rhythm of the words, the slow, unhurried pace. This is intentional, because to truly appreciate these ideas, we have to slow down. We have to let go of the frantic pace of the modern world and settle into the contemplative rhythm of the ancient mind. The Greeks, with their love of leisure and debate, knew that the best ideas don't come in a rush. They come from quiet contemplation, from letting the mind wander and see where it goes. And as you let your mind wander, a bit of gentle humor is always welcome. It is a well-known fact that Greek philosophers loved to debate everything, even the most mundane of topics. One can almost picture a group of them sitting around debating whether a dream about a stubborn mule is a sign from the gods, or simply the lingering memory of a donkey they saw on the way to the agora. And the truth, as always, is probably somewhere in the middle, or perhaps in the mule's refusal to move an inch, which is a feeling we can all relate to. This transition from the divine to the human, from the prophetic to the philosophical, is a key moment in our story. It's the moment we began to look inward. The ancient Babylonians and Egyptians saw the night as a space where the divine world could enter the human. The Greeks, with their mind theater, began to see the night as a space where the human mind could finally be itself. It's a beautiful, quiet shift. Think of it this way. The ancient people were looking up at the night sky, seeing constellations and stories. The Greeks started to look inward at the constellations of thoughts and feelings inside their own heads. Both are beautiful. Both are valid, but they are fundamentally different ways of seeing the world. And it is this philosophical mind theater, this idea that our minds are their own worlds with their own rules and their own stories, that we will continue to explore. There's a quiet joke in all of this, isn't there? We spend our days chasing after external things, fame, fortune, knowledge, and all the while, the most complex, the most mysterious, the most fascinating world of all's inside our own heads, waiting for us to visit every night. We just have to fall asleep to get there. It's like a secret garden that opens only after dark. And the best part is you don't need a key, just a quiet mind and a soft pillow. This journey from the divine to the internal is a journey of discovery. It's a journey that takes us closer and closer to the brain itself, to the biological processes that create our nightly stories. But we are not there yet. We are still in the realm of ideas, of philosophy, of big questions asked in quiet courtyards. And the answers, as they often do, lead to more questions. The journey is the point, not the destination. So let's take another breath and another moment of quiet. Let's let the thoughts of Plato and Aristotle and Hippocrates drift away like clouds in the sky. They have given us a new way of seeing, a new way of thinking about our dreams. They have helped us to realize that the most beautiful truths might not be found in the stars, but in the quiet, mysterious space that opens up every time we close our eyes. And as you settle deeper, as you feel your body grow heavier and your mind grow quieter, remember that you are a part of this story. You are the dreamer, the philosopher, the scientist, the poet. You are a quiet traveler in the theater of your own mind, and the performance is about to begin. From the quiet contemplative courtyards of ancient Greece, our journey makes a dramatic leap through time. The calendar pages turn, the centuries blur, and we arrive in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This is a time of electric light and roaring machines of new ideas about the mind and the self. And in this new world, two figures emerge from the shadows, ready to take the conversation about dreams in a very different direction. They are the great rivals of the subconscious, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. First, let's talk about Freud. He's the one who made dreams fashionable again, the man who brought the subconscious out of the academic backrooms and into the living rooms of the world. For him, a dream wasn't just a mental byproduct or a lingering echo of the day. No, for Freud, a dream was the royal road to the unconscious. It was a secret language, a carefully constructed code that your mind used to express its deepest, most hidden desires, fears, and forbidden wishes. Imagine a dream as a letter you write to yourself in a secret cipher. The letter itself is what Freud called the manifest content, what you actually remember: a chase through a forest, a conversation with a talking animal. But the real meaning, the truth of the letter, is the latent content. This is the hidden symbolic meaning, the suppressed desires that your unconscious mind is trying to sneak past your conscious censor. He believed that everything in a dream was a symbol, often for something sexual or aggressive. A house could be the body, A flight of stairs could be a sexual act, a simple object could be a stand-in for a deep emotional conflict. It's all very dramatic, very personal, and honestly, a bit of a psychological soap opera. Freud's ideas became incredibly popular, sparking a whole new industry of armchair analysis. Suddenly, people were looking for meaning in every single detail of their nightly narratives, convinced that their minds were hiding all sorts of dark secrets. This led to a lot of fascinating conversations, and probably more than a few awkward ones too. "Honey, I had a dream about a train going through a tunnel last night. What do you think that means?" It was a new way of seeing ourselves, a new way of believing that the truths about who we are lie not in what we say, but in what we dream. But then into this Freudian landscape, a former protege emerges with a different perspective. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist, respected Freud, but found his focus on personal, repressed desires to be too narrow, too small. Jung looked at dreams not as a key to a single person's neuroses, but as a connection to something much grander. He believed that dreams connected us to a shared human experience, a vast inherited wisdom he called the collective unconscious. Imagine a library of the human soul. It's not filled with books about your life or your parents' lives. It's filled with stories and symbols that every single person from the dawn of time has carried within them. These are the archetypes: the hero, the mother, the wise old man, the trickster, the shadow. They are universal characters and themes that appear again and again in myths, fairy tales, and most importantly, in our dreams. According to Jung, a dream about a giant spider isn't just a repressed fear of your mother. It's a connection to the universal archetype of the monstrous, the devouring force of nature. A dream of a hero slaying a dragon isn't just about a personal struggle. It's a replay of a story that has been told and retold by the human species for thousands of years. It's a way of saying, you are a part of something bigger. Your dreams are not just about you, they are about us. Jung's vision is a much more hopeful and spiritual one. He saw dreams as a force for growth and self-realization, a way for the unconscious mind to guide the conscious self toward wholeness. He believed that the symbols in dreams had deep archetypal meaning that transcended individual life stories. It was a beautiful idea suggesting that every night you are not just an individual dreamer, but a part of a great universal narrative. It's the ultimate communal experience happening quietly within each of us. This is a general historical fact that is fascinating to consider. While Freud's ideas became mainstream and were widely popularized, Jung's work actually had a more profound and lasting influence on fields outside of psychology, such as art, literature, and even religious studies. His concepts of archetypes and the collective unconscious resonated with artists and writers who were looking for a deeper, more universal meaning in their work. And here is a little-known detail about this rivalry. Jung and Freud's final break was particularly dramatic. After their famous falling out, Jung began to have a series of intense, almost prophetic dreams and visions, which he documented in a large red leather book he called the Red Book. For years he kept it private, believing it contained his own journey into the depths of the collective unconscious. It was his personal royal road, but one that he walked alone. This incredible document, filled with his own intricate artwork and strange mystical writings, was not fully published until nearly a century after their break, offering a rare glimpse into the mind of a man who truly believed that dreams were the language of the soul. Academics still debate whether Freud's focus on personal history or Jung's emphasis on universal archetypes provides a more accurate framework for understanding dreams. It's a debate that touches on the very nature of human identity. Are we products of our own unique experiences, or are we vessels for a shared primordial wisdom? The truth, as is often the case, is probably a bit of both. Let's allow ourselves a gentle joke to lighten the mood. One might imagine Freud, after hearing a patient's dream, saying with a straight face, "Ah, a dream about a giant talking hot dog." The phallic symbolism is obvious. To which Jung, with a thoughtful smile, might reply, or perhaps it is simply the archetype of the food of the people offering sustenance in a time of great spiritual hunger. It's a subtle and quiet humor, but a good reminder that even the most serious theories can have a light side. Another fun thought. If you had a dream about a magical pizza that grants wishes, Freud would probably tell you it's a desire for control or a subconscious wish for power. Jung, on the other hand, might say it's a manifestation of the great nurturer archetype, a universal symbol of comfort and magical provision. And a modern neuroscientist would simply say, you were hungry. The beauty is that all of them in their own way could be right. As you sink deeper into your pillow, let the ideas of these two great thinkers drift through your mind. You don't need to choose a side. You can simply appreciate the fact that they brought the conversation about dreams to a whole new level. They saw the night not as a blank space, but as a canvas on which the mind paints its most personal and its most universal truths. They saw dreams not as random noise, but as a rich, layered, and deeply meaningful source of information. Whether your dreams are a secret message from your own unconscious or a window into the great shared story of humanity, one thing is certain: they are far more complex than we ever imagined. The journey inward is a winding one, full of strange symbols and surprising detours. But it is a journey worth taking. So let's close our eyes for a moment and let these grand ideas about the mind's hidden depths settle in. Let the images of Freud's symbolic puzzles and Jung's great archetypal heroes fade into the peaceful quiet. We've explored the history and the philosophy. Now it's time to delve into the very thing that makes this entire performance possible, the biological masterpiece. That is your sleeping brain. We've journeyed through the temples of ancient priests and the quiet courtyards of Greek philosophers. We've even taken a stroll down the royal road with Freud and explored the universal symbols of Jung. But now it's time to leave the realm of pure thought and speculation and step into the quiet humming world of the science lab. We're about to witness one of the most remarkable discoveries in the history of human consciousness, a quiet little revelation that would forever change how we think about sleep and dreams. The year is 1953. The place is a lab at the University of Chicago. A graduate student named Eugene Azarinsky and his advisor, Nathaniel Kleitman, are meticulously watching a sleeping infant. They have an EEG machine, a device that records brain waves hooked up to the baby's head. As they watch, they notice something peculiar, something they've never seen before. The baby's eyes, even though its eyelids are closed, begin to dart around rapidly as if watching an invisible tennis match. This wasn't an isolated incident. They observed the same strange behavior in other sleeping infants, and then, most importantly, in sleeping adults. The eye movements would appear at regular intervals, sometimes every hour or two. Azarinsky, in a stroke of scientific genius, decided to wake the sleepers during these periods of rapid eye movement. And what did they find? In almost every instance, the person reported having been in the middle of a dream, a vivid, detailed, often strange and illogical dream. The discovery was a bombshell, a quiet revolution in the field of sleep. For the first time, scientists had a biological marker for dreaming. The dreams were no longer just a psychological phenomenon, they were a physiological one too. The stage was officially named REM sleep for rapid eye movement. This is a general historical fact that is foundational to modern sleep science. The discovery of REM sleep proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the brain is not a passive, inert lump while we are asleep. In fact, during REM, your brain is surprisingly active, sometimes just as active as when you're awake. Your eyes dart around beneath your eyelids, your heart rate rises a little, and your breathing becomes more shallow and irregular. It's a paradox. The body is still, and yet the brain is in a state of high alert, running its own private cinematic production. And here's a crucial, a life-saving detail about this stage of sleep: REM atonia. As a part of the sleep cycle, a very clever part of your brainstem sends signals that temporarily paralyze your major muscle groups. Your body is essentially turned off, disconnected from the very active brain signals telling your dream self to run, to jump, to fly. This is probably for the best, as it prevents you from acting out your dreams. Imagine if you didn't have this. You would be running into walls, punching your pillow, or trying to leap off the bed as you dreamt of flying. It's a brilliant safety feature, an essential part of the design. But here's a little-known fact that adds a layer of mystery. The PGO waves, short for pontine geniculate occipital waves, are bursts of neural activity that originate in the brainstem, travel through the thalamus, and end up in the visual cortex. They begin to fire just before REM sleep starts and continue throughout the stage. Some researchers believe that these PGO waves are the very switch that turns on the dream state, creating the raw visual and sensory data that the brain's cerebral cortex then weaves into a story. It's like the brain has a projector and a blank screen, and these waves are the power source that turns the whole thing on. The dream in this view is the movie that's projected. This brings us to a quiet academic debate that still rages today. The activation synthesis hypothesis holds that dreams are simply the brain's attempt to make sense of these random bursts of neural activity. In this view, dreams are not meaningful narratives, but a kind of after-the-fact storytelling. The brain receives a jumble of sensory information and emotional signals, and the cerebral cortex, our great storyteller in chief, tries to stitch it all together into something coherent. It doesn't always succeed, hence the talking ducks and the sudden appearance of your third-grade teacher on a pirate ship. This is in stark contrast to the Freudian and Jungian views that we just discussed. So which is it? Are dreams a deeply meaningful symbolic language, or are they just a creative and often nonsensical byproduct of a biological process? Neuroscientists still debate whether the activation synthesis hypothesis fully accounts for the emotional depth and narrative consistency that many dreams possess. The question is a beautiful one, and it reminds us that even when science finds an answer, it often leads to even more profound questions. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. Imagine the first time Oserinsky and Kleitman saw the rapid eye movements. Oserinsky might have turned to his advisor and said, "Dr. Kleitman, I think the baby's eyes are playing a tiny game of ping pong under its eyelids." And Kleitman, ever the scientist, would have replied, "Fascinating." We must measure the frequency and amplitude of the table tennis. It's a way of looking at a strange phenomenon and giving it a familiar and slightly silly name, another humorous thought. This discovery of REM sleep essentially gives us a biological reason for all the weird things our brains do at night. When you wake up from a dream about arguing with a walrus in a tuxedo, you no longer have to worry about the state of your psyche. You can simply say, my PGO waves were firing, and my prefrontal cortex was taking a nap. It's a natural thing. It happens to the best of us. It's a nice, simple explanation for the madness. This discovery of REM sleep is the bridge between the old world of philosophy and the new world of neuroscience. It's the moment when we moved from asking, "What does this dream mean?" to asking, "What is the brain doing while this dream is happening?" It's a quiet and profound shift in perspective, one that has opened up an entirely new frontier of exploration. So as you continue to relax, to let your mind drift, I want you to hold on to this amazing fact. Every single night, your brain, this complex and beautiful organ, goes through a series of carefully choreographed stages. And in one of those stages, your mind becomes a stage, and the stories begin to play. It's a miracle of biology, a feat of neural engineering, happening quietly and without your conscious command. We are just beginning to understand the immense complexity of this process. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we still don't know. But that's the beautiful thing about science. It's a journey, not a destination. And the questions themselves are often more beautiful than the answers. So let your thoughts drift. Let the images of Oserinsky and Kleitman and their little sleeping baby fade into the peaceful hum of the night. You are now a part of this story, a part of this great ongoing journey of discovery. Your brain is a universe unto itself, and you are about to become a quiet traveler within it. We've now seen the brain in action during sleep, a bustling hive of activity, even as the body rests. But a deeper question remains, one that has haunted philosophers and scientists for centuries. Why do we dream? Is it a biological accident, a strange byproduct of our neural processes? Or does it serve a purpose, a quiet vital function that we are only just beginning to understand? Tonight, we're going to explore the idea of the purposeful dreamer. The notion that your nightly adventures are not random, but are instead a kind of work, a form of internal maintenance that your mind performs while you are out cold. One of the most compelling theories is that dreams are inextricably linked to memory consolidation. Think about your day. Your brain is a vast and busy collector, gathering an avalanche of information faces, facts, conversations, disappointments, lunch menus, and stray snippets of music. At night, it needs to sort through all this mental clutter. According to this theory, dreams are part of this cleanup job, a kind of mental filing system. Your brain decides what to keep, what to toss, and what to send to that mysterious place where lost socks and forgotten passwords go. This is a subtle but powerful idea. It suggests that your brain is not just replaying the day. It is actively editing it, a gentle editor, cutting out the unnecessary bits and highlighting the important ones. This is a general historical fact in sleep research. Students who study intensely or learn a new skill tend to have more REM sleep afterward. It's as if the brain is saying, okay, we have a lot of new information to process. Let's get to work. In some studies, students who were taught a new skill and then went to sleep performed better on that skill the next day than students who were deprived of sleep. So, yes, technically, cramming in your sleep is real, though your dream self might confuse calculus with cartoon animals. This suggests that the brain is not just a passive recorder, but an active processor, and dreaming is one of its most important tools. A little-known detail that adds a layer of complexity to this idea is the phenomenon of sleep-dependent memory reorganization. It's not just that the brain is strengthening memories, it's that it's also finding new connections between them. Have you ever gone to bed with a problem you couldn't solve and woken up with a sudden elegant solution? That's not magic. That's your brain quietly working the night shift, free from the distractions and logical constraints of the waking world. It's like your mind is an old hard drive that needs to be defragmented. It's a quiet, efficient, and deeply important process that happens every single night. Another fascinating theory is that dreams help us process emotions. During REM sleep, the brain behaves in a remarkable way. Emotional centers like the amygdala light up, while stress-related chemicals simmer down. This unique combination allows your mind to revisit emotionally charged memories without the full weight of panic or fear. It's like having a therapist in your head who is willing to role-play your awkward interactions, but with more surreal scenery. That dream you had, where you were calmly arguing with your boss on top of a slow-moving elephant? That might have been your brain's way of saying, hey, I'm working through it. The dream provides a safe, symbolic space to feel and release emotions, and this leads us to the threat rehearsal hypothesis. This theory, rooted in evolutionary psychology, suggests that dreaming is our primal brain's way of preparing us for real-life dangers by running through imaginary scenarios. Being chased, lost attacked, or late for a test you didn't study for in a class you never attended. Your brain is practicing how it might respond to high-stakes situations. It's a slightly unhinged, wildly exaggerated rehearsal. And as a gentle joke in the midst of this theory, if you have a recurring dream about a giant jelly bean chasing you, your brain is probably just making sure you have a plan in place for the inevitable moment when the world is overrun by rogue legumes. A controversial academic debate still rages over whether dreams are truly adaptive, serving a clear biological purpose, or whether they are merely an epiphenomenon, a kind of mental steam escaping from the neural engine with no real function of its own. Researchers still debate whether the activation synthesis hypothesis, which we mentioned earlier, is a complete explanation, or if there is a deeper, more profound purpose behind our nightly narratives. The answer, of course, is probably a combination of all of them. The brain is a complex system, and it's very likely that dreams serve multiple purposes at once, like a late-night variety show where your brain juggles cleaning house, solving puzzles, rehearsing survival scenarios, and throwing in the occasional musical number just for fun. Let's allow for another moment of lightheartedness. A friend of mine once had a dream where they were trying to bake a cake, but all of the ingredients were made of tiny, angry squirrels. This isn't a sign of deep psychological trauma. It's just your brain being a bit silly, and a reminder that even when it's doing important work, it's also prone to flights of pure, unadulterated nonsense. It's the brain's way of saying, I'm a little tired, but I'm trying my best to sort through this information. Please be patient. This idea of the purposeful dreamer is a comforting one, isn't it? It suggests that even when you are completely unconscious, even when you feel that you are doing nothing, your mind is still working, still sorting, still healing. It's a reminder that rest is not passive, it's active. It's a reminder that your brain is always on your side, always trying to help you, even in its own strange and mysterious way. So as you continue to relax, to let your mind drift, I want you to hold on to this idea that your dreams are a part of a great quiet work. They are the stories your brain tells itself to help you heal, to help you learn, to help you grow. They are a kind of nightly medicine, a kind of internal wisdom that is always there for you. And as you settle in, let your thoughts about memory, about emotions, about purpose, all fade away like clouds in the sky. The work of the night is not for you to consciously command. It is for you to peacefully surrender to. We have explored the why of dreams, delving into their potential purposes. But before we can fully appreciate the performance, we must first understand the stage and the meticulously choreographed routine that makes it all possible. We are about to take a quiet stroll through the blueprint of sleep itself, a journey into what scientists call sleep architecture. We often think of sleep as one long, uninterrupted snooze, like pressing pause on consciousness for 8 hours. But under the hood, sleep is a surprisingly complex, a well-orchestrated cycle, more like a symphony than a simple off switch. Sleep is divided into two major categories: REM sleep and non-REM sleep. Non-REM sleep itself is further divided into 3 distinct stages, helpfully labeled N1, N2, and N3. This is a general historical fact about sleep science that is now commonplace, but it was a revolutionary idea when first discovered. It tells us that your sleep isn't a single state of being, but a carefully balanced rhythm with each stage doing its part. Imagine your brain's nightly routine as a looped playlist. The full sleep cycle lasts about 90 minutes, and you repeat it 4 to 6 times per night. The proportions shift as the night progresses. Early on, you get more deep sleep, and later on, you get more REM. It's as if your brain schedules the heavy-duty maintenance work first, then settles in for some entertainment. This rhythmic cycling is the very heart of healthy rest, and understanding it is key to understanding your dreams. Let's begin with stage N1, the gentle descent. This is the lightest stage of sleep, the moment when you're just beginning to drift off. You're still aware of the world around you, kind of, but your brain has started to shift gears. Your brain waves, which are typically active and fast when you're awake, begin to slow down. You might feel your limbs twitch or suddenly jerk awake from a sensation of falling. This strange sensation, called a hypnic jerk, isn't your soul leaving your body. It's just your nervous system glitching a bit on the way down, a playful little spasm as your muscles relax. This stage is the twilight zone between waking and dreaming. Next, we move into stage N2, light sleep. Now you're sinking deeper. Your body temperature drops a bit, your heartbeat slows, and your eye movements stop. This is where your brain gets a little more serious about sleep. You're not quite dreaming yet, but you're definitely not taking calls. In this stage, the brain starts showing little bursts of electrical activity called sleep spindles and K-complexes. These sound like indie rock bands, but they're actually protective mechanisms that help keep you asleep by blocking out external stimuli. That car horn outside your window. Your brain just gave it a gentle shush with a well-timed spindle. You'll spend about half your night in this stage. It's the workhorse of sleep, not too flashy, but incredibly important for maintaining rest. Then comes stage N3, deep sleep. This is the big one. The restorative phase, the deep clean cycle on your brain's dishwasher. In N3, your brain produces slow delta waves, huge lumbering pulses of activity that wash through your cortex like waves lapping a beach. This is when your body repairs. Tissues builds bone and muscle and strengthens the immune system. If you're a growing child, your body releases growth hormone here too. Adults don't get taller, unfortunately, but we do still get the benefits of this cellular spring cleaning. It's very difficult to wake someone from deep sleep, and if you do, they'll likely be groggy, disoriented, and a little annoyed, like someone being yanked out of a very warm bath by a foghorn. Finally, we have REM sleep, the dream factory. We've talked about this stage before, but now we see where it fits into the grander architecture. REM is the mysterious realm where the brain lights up your muscles, go limp, and your eyes dart around beneath your closed lids. REM is where the bulk of your most vivid and bizarre dreams happen. It's the brain's sandbox, a place for strange stories, illogical logic, and the occasional celebrity cameo. But REM isn't just entertaining. It also plays a vital role in memory consolidation, emotional processing, and creativity. Some researchers even believe that REM sleep helps you sort through the emotional messiness of the day, like sweeping up confetti after a particularly wild parade. This brings us to a little-known detail about sleep architecture. The first REM phase of the night might only be a brief 10 minutes long, a short, strange film. But as the night progresses, each subsequent REM phase gets longer, stretching to an hour or more by morning. This is why dreams feel longer, weirder, and more vivid as the night goes on. Your brain has finished the heavy lifting of deep sleep and is now ready for a more extended period of creative and emotional processing. It's a beautifully scheduled and entirely automatic process. Academics still debate whether the specific order and duration of these sleep stages is purely a biological necessity, or if there's a deeper evolutionary reason for this specific architecture. For example, why do we prioritize deep sleep early in the night and REM sleep later on? Scientists still debate whether this pattern is a remnant of a time when our ancestors needed to be on high alert early in the night to avoid predators and only felt safe enough to enter a more vulnerable, dream-filled state later on. Now for a bit of gentle humor. Think of the full sleep cycle as a perfectly scheduled team of workers. In the first half of the night, you have the heavy-duty construction crew N3 building and repairing. And then in the second half, you have the artists and the storytellers REM who come in and decorate the place, making it all pretty and bizarre. It's a perfect system, a harmonious collaboration. Another gentle joke. Your brain's sleep architecture is a bit like a well-run home. N1 is when you're just taking off your shoes at the door. N2 is when you're tidying up the living room and turning down the lights. N3 is when you're doing a full-on deep clean, mopping the floors and scrubbing the countertops. And AEM. That's when you're putting on a play in the living room for an audience of one. It's a good system, and it works if you let it. This complex and beautiful system is often disrupted by things like stress caffeine or that late-night existential crisis. When the architecture is disturbed, you might not reach deep sleep, or your REM might be cut short. The result? You wake up feeling groggy, unrefreshed, and mildly betrayed by your own biology. This is why understanding this rhythm is so important. You don't need to become a sleep technician, but respecting the architecture, keeping a steady sleep schedule, reducing light before bed, avoiding caffeine. Too late helps your brain do what it does best. So tonight, as you drift off, remember your brain is about to launch into a beautifully choreographed routine, complete with waves, spindles, and dream sequences. You may not remember all of it, but your body and your mind will thank you. The quiet work is about to begin. Now that we've gently explored the grand architecture of sleep, let's zoom in. Let's step into the bustling silent world of the brain itself and meet the cast of characters, the various regions that work together to create the show that is your dream. Imagine the brain as a grand old theater where each part has its own role to play in the nocturnal performance. First, let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. By day, this is the responsible adult in the room. It's the logical thinker, the planner, the internal voice that says, "Maybe don't send that email," in all caps. It's heavily involved in decision-making, rational thought, and impulse control. But when you fall asleep, especially during REM sleep, this part of your brain takes a little nap of its own. It quiets down, steps aside, and lets the rest of the brain take the stage. The result: dreams that are illogical, boundary-pushing, and often completely bonkers. Without the prefrontal cortex overseeing things, the brain is free to combine ideas and images in the most unfiltered, uninhibited way possible. It's like your inner editor has left the room, and now the art department is running wild, drawing on the walls, and turning the whole place into a surrealist painting. Meanwhile, other areas are lighting up with activity. The amygdala, for example, becomes particularly active during REM sleep. This little almond-shaped region nestled deep in the brain is responsible for processing emotions, especially fear, anger, and pleasure. So when you find yourself trapped in a dream where you're being chased through an airport by someone dressed as your childhood pet, you can thank your amygdala for dialing up the emotional intensity. It's the part of the brain that makes dreams feel important, even when the plot makes zero sense. A general historical fact in neuroscience is that this amygdala activity is crucial. Because your brain's stress response systems are dialed down during REM, you can re-experience intense emotions in a relatively low-stakes environment. In other words, you might feel afraid or thrilled in a dream, but without the full heart-racing panic of real danger. It's like a quiet, emotional workout. Then there's the hippocampus, your brain's librarian. It's responsible for creating and organizing memories. It's closely linked with dreaming too, especially when dreams incorporate real places or familiar faces. The hippocampus helps retrieve the raw materials your dreams use: the restaurant you passed earlier in the day, the song that got stuck in your head, your second-grade teacher who inexplicably reappears as a karate champion. But here's a crucial little-known detail. The hippocampus isn't fully online during REM sleep, which may be why dream memories tend to be disjointed and so hard to recall. You might remember the mood of the dream or a particular image, but often the details slip away the moment you wake up. The filing cabinet is open, but the lights are dim. This also explains why it's so difficult to learn new things while sleeping. The part of the brain responsible for forming lasting new memories isn't fully operational. Another intriguing player is the occipital lobe, located at the back of the brain. This is your primary visual processing center. During REM sleep, the occipital lobe shows significant activity, which makes perfect sense given how visual dreams often are. Even people who are born blind report vivid sensory dreams, often focusing on sound, touch, and spatial awareness. For the rest of us, dreams are like mini movies, full of shifting landscapes, strange lighting, and unexpected camera angles. It's your brain's very own film studio, operating entirely without eyes. Then there's the motor cortex, the part of your brain that controls movement. It's active during dreaming too, which is why your dream self can run, dance, or fly. But as we've discussed, another part of your brainstem is doing something very helpful, temporarily paralyzing your muscles. This phenomenon, REM atonia, is what keeps you from acting out your dreams in real life. It's like the brain puts a little "do not disturb" sign on your muscles while your dream self explores a world that defies the laws of physics. Academics still debate the exact mechanism of this paralysis. Is it an active signal to turn off the muscles, or is it a passive state that results from the brain's focus on internal processes? The question might sound technical, but it gets to the heart of how your mind controls your body even in sleep. Let's allow for a gentle, silly moment. One could imagine the different parts of the brain having a meeting. The prefrontal cortex would be the accountant saying, "This dream budget is out of control. There's no logical reason for a talking penguin," to which the amygdala would reply, "But the penguin is a symbol of fear. It's emotionally significant." Meanwhile, the hippocampus would be trying to find the folder for penguins, and the motor cortex would just be sitting there trying not to move a muscle. It's a team effort, and not always a very organized one. A little joke. Your brain is a bit like a home improvement show host. The prefrontal cortex is the contractor who has a plan. The amygdala is the decorator who wants to use bright, bold colors. The hippocampus is the guy who brings the old dusty furniture from the basement. And in the end, you get a completely illogical house that somehow feels very familiar. It's a work in progress, and the result is always a surprise. And here's one more. When you wake up from a particularly strange dream and ask, "What was my brain thinking?" The answer is, it wasn't. The prefrontal cortex was on vacation. The emotional centers were running the show, and all the logic was left at the door. It's a reminder that not every dream is a deep psychological puzzle. Sometimes your brain is just having a weird illogical party. The orchestration of these regions is one of the most fascinating things about dreaming. The brain manages to become both highly active and strangely disconnected at the same time. During REM, there's a noticeable decrease in the activity of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part that helps us recognize reality and make judgments. This helps explain why your dream self thinks it's totally reasonable to be having a tea party on the moon with a flamingo named Steve. Without the usual systems of logic and realism in place, the dream world becomes wonderfully, or sometimes alarmingly, fluid. So when you lie down to sleep, it's not just a passive state. Deep inside your brain, an entire cast of characters is preparing for a nocturnal performance. The emotion-laden amygdala, the memory-sorting hippocampus, the visual processing occipital lobe, the quieted-down prefrontal cortex, and the motor control center all take part in this strange, fleeting phenomenon we call dreaming. And perhaps the most curious part of all, you, the dreamer, rarely remember the rehearsal, the actors, or the script. We have explored the internal mechanics of the dreaming brain, the quiet team of neural workers who put on your nightly show. But the stories they tell, where do they come from? Are they plucked from thin air, a new creation spun from nothingness? Or are they in fact a reflection of the very life you just lived tonight? We're going to explore a fascinating and reassuring idea known as the continuity hypothesis. It's the simple yet profound notion that your dreams are not separate from your waking life, but are deeply and inextricably connected to it. Imagine your consciousness as a great continuous river. The waking world is the sunlight, the rocks, the flowing current. The dreaming world is the same river but under the moonlight. The water is the same, the fish are the same. The echoes of the day's journey are still there, just seen in a different light. The continuity hypothesis suggests that your daily experiences, emotions, thoughts, and even your media consumption sneak their way into your dreams. Think about a typical day. You have a stressful conversation with a colleague. You see a movie trailer for a science fiction film. You hear a catchy song on the radio. Later that night, you dream you are an astronaut floating in space, trying to have a serious conversation with your colleague, who is now a robot, all set to the tune of that catchy song. This is a very real and very common example of how the continuity hypothesis plays out in your mind. Your brain isn't creating a new world from scratch. It's using the raw materials of your day, but it's recombining them in new and unexpected ways. This is a general historical fact in sleep studies. Research has shown that the more time you spend on a specific task during the day, or the more emotionally intense an event, is the more likely you are to dream about it. It's a way for your brain to process, sort, and integrate new information and emotional experiences. This is why many people who are starting a new job, learning a new language, or going through a difficult emotional experience find that their dreams are filled with echoes of those challenges. The brain is quite literally working through it in your sleep. A little known detail that adds a layer of depth to this is the concept of dream lag. This is a phenomenon where elements from your waking life appear in your dreams, but not from the day immediately before. Instead, they appear from a specific time a week or so earlier. For example, you might dream about a conversation you had 10 days ago, or a movie you watched last Tuesday. The brain seems to have a kind of short-term memory vault for recent, but not immediate events, and it pulls from that vault to create its nightly narratives. It's a quiet reminder that the brain is always working in the background, making connections and finding meaning, even when you are not consciously aware of it. Now this leads us to a fascinating academic debate. Researchers still debate the extent to which dreams are only a reflection of waking life versus a space for truly new emergent creativity. Can a dream create a truly new idea, a new symbol, a new narrative that is not in some way derived from waking experience? Or is everything, even the most absurd dream, just a complex recombination of old parts? This is a fundamental question about the nature of consciousness itself. It's the difference between a dream being a movie, filmed with new footage, versus a movie filmed with clips from your own life. And the answer, as is often the case, is probably a blend of both. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. Think about all the bizarre things you do in your daily life. You argue with a self-checkout machine. You get stuck behind a slow driver who is clearly lost. You accidentally spill coffee on your favorite shirt. All of these small moments, these little frustrations are raw material for your brain, and that's how you end up in a dream where you are an ancient king leading your people into battle against an army of self-checkout machines, while a giant slow-moving shirt floats overhead, all set to the soundtrack of your morning commute. Your brain, with a kind of quiet, whimsical sarcasm, is replaying the day's events in a way that is both strange and familiar. Another gentle joke. The continuity hypothesis is like your brain saying, I'm not going to come up with a whole new cast of characters for your nightly show. I'm just going to take the ones you already know and put them in strange new outfits and have them say illogical things. It's more efficient and, frankly, a lot more fun. It's a kind of brain-based silent comedy show starring all the people you know and love. And here's one more. When you have a dream that you've watched too much TV, your brain isn't just saying you have, it's proving it to you. You are literally dreaming in movie tropes and TV plots, replaying the scenes you've seen in a new and unexpected way. It's a kind of subconscious fact-checking, a way for your brain to gently remind you that it's time to put down the remote and get some rest. The continuity hypothesis is a comforting idea, isn't it? It suggests that even in your sleep, you are still very much yourself. The worries you have, the people you love, the places you go, all of these things are a part of your nightly landscape. Your dreams are not an escape from reality. They are a part of it. They are the quiet, nocturnal processing of the life you live. They are the same river, just flowing under a different moon. So as you continue to relax, to let your mind drift, I want you to hold on to this idea that the world within you is not separate from the world outside of you. It is a part of it. It is a reflection of it. And the stories you tell yourself every night are the beautiful, strange, and entirely human product of the life you lead. We've journeyed through the mind's nocturnal habits, from the sorting of memories to the processing of emotions. But the brain is not just a filing clerk or a therapist. It is also an artist. And in the silent darkness of the night, it can become a boundless source of inspiration, a creative muse. This idea is as old as time, and the list of artists, musicians, writers, and inventors who have credited dreams for their greatest ideas is long and fascinating. It's the ultimate collaborative project between your conscious self and your dreaming mind, and the result is often something truly magical. Imagine, if you will, the mind as a vast, quiet workshop. By day, you are a master craftsman, meticulously planning, measuring, and building. But by night, the rules of logic fall away. The tools are scattered, the materials are a jumble, and the workshop is lit only by the pale light of the moon. And in that stillness, a different kind of work begins. The mind lets go, allows for strange connections, and combines disparate ideas that would never make sense in the light of day. It is in this wild, uninhibited space that true creativity can flourish. This is a general historical fact that has been repeated throughout the centuries. The most famous example is probably Paul McCartney. He famously heard the melody for his song Yesterday in a dream. He woke up with the entire tune in his head, convinced that he had heard it somewhere before. He played it for friends and other musicians, asking, "Have you heard this song before?" Nobody had. The melody was a new creation born entirely from his sleeping mind. He called it scrambled eggs as a placeholder until he came up with the lyrics. The story of Yesterday is a beautiful and simple testament to the creative power of dreams. Another example is the author Mary Shelley. She was spending a gloomy summer in Switzerland with her friends and fellow writers when they challenged each other to write a ghost story. For days, Shelley struggled. She had nothing. Then one night, she had a terrifying dream, a student of the unhallowed arts creating a monstrous reanimated creature and then recoiling in horror at his own work. She woke up with the vision still fresh in her mind, and from that terrifying dream came one of the most famous novels of all time, Frankenstein. The chemist Dmitri Mendeleev also famously claimed that the periodic table of elements came to him in a dream, a moment of profound insight that connected all the disparate chemical elements he had been struggling to organize. In his dream, he saw the elements arranged in a table, and he woke up to record the vision. These are not isolated incidents. The director Ingmar Bergman claimed that his films were often born from dreams, and the artist Salvador Dalí famously used a technique of napping with a key in his hand so that as he fell asleep and his mind began to wander, the key would drop and wake him up, allowing him to immediately capture the strange, surreal images from the hypnagogic state, the twilight zone between waking and sleep. A little-known detail that adds a layer of depth to this is how the brain works during this process. Studies have shown that during REM sleep, the brain is actively making new connections between neurons, and it's doing so without the constraints of logic. It's like the brain is a gardener, and the waking mind is a master landscaper who insists on planting everything in straight lines. But the dreaming mind is a wild, untamed gardener who just throws the seeds around and sees what grows. The result is often something strange and messy, but it can also be something beautiful and entirely new. This uninhibited state is what allows for the creative breakthroughs that are so difficult to achieve in the conscious logical waking world. This leads us to a fascinating academic debate. Researchers still debate whether a dream can truly create something new, or if it is simply a clever recombination of existing elements. Is a dream the creation of a new melody, or is it just the brain cleverly rearranging bits of music you've already heard? Is a dream the creation of a new story, or is it just the brain retelling old stories with new characters? It's a question that gets to the very heart of what creativity is. Is it the act of creation or the act of discovery? The answer, as is often the case, is probably a combination of both. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. One could imagine Paul McCartney waking up and trying to explain his dream to his friends. "I had a dream about scrambled eggs, but they were singing a beautiful sad song." His friends would probably have just stared at him blankly, and he would have to say, "No, really, it was amazing." The beauty of dreams is that they are entirely yours, and no one else will ever truly understand them, which is probably for the best. Another gentle joke. The dreaming mind is like a very enthusiastic, but very disorganized assistant. You give it a problem to solve, and it comes back to you with a solution that is brilliant. but it's delivered on a napkin, and the napkin is covered in drawings of unicorns and talking trees. The solution is great, but you still have to figure out how to make sense of the delivery. It's a reminder that the creative process is not always clean or logical. And here's one more. When you have a dream that you've invented a new kind of machine, your brain isn't just saying you have, it's showing you the blueprints. The machine might be powered by a hamster on a wheel, and the hamster is wearing a tiny hat, but the fundamental idea is there. The creative muse is not always practical, but it is always inspiring. The idea of the creative muse in dreamland is a comforting one, isn't it? It suggests that even when you are not consciously working, even when you are completely at rest, your mind is still laboring away, making connections and finding inspiration. It's a reminder that the well of creativity is not something that can be drained. It is something that is always being replenished every single night. So as you continue to relax, to let your mind drift, I want you to hold on to this idea that the quietest moments of your life, the moments when you are most at rest, can also be the moments of your greatest creativity. Your dreams are not just stories. They are the raw material for the beautiful, strange, and entirely new things you will create. We have wandered through the mind's nightly landscape, exploring its creative depths and its strange logic. But what if you could do more than just wander? What if you could for a moment become the director of your own dream? Imagine you're walking through a vast library made entirely of marshmallows. The librarian is a talking raccoon in spectacles. Everything feels perfectly real. Then suddenly, a quiet thought drifts through your mind. Wait a minute, this is a dream. And just like that, the whole dream shifts. You're aware you're lucid. This is one of the most fascinating quirks of human consciousness. Lucid dreaming is that moment in a dream when you realize you're dreaming, and sometimes you can even control what happens next. You might choose to fly, speak to a long-lost friend, or more realistically, spend the entire dream trying to walk through a wall while getting distracted by the carpet. Still, it's a remarkable experience, a quiet blend of waking awareness and REM sleep. A general historical fact about this phenomenon is that while the term lucid dreaming was coined in the early 20th century, the practice itself has been a part of spiritual traditions for centuries. Tibetan Buddhists, for example, have practiced dream yoga for over 1,000 years, using the lucid dream state as a tool for spiritual enlightenment and self-realization. Their goal is not just to control the dream, but to recognize the illusory nature of all reality, both waking and dreaming. This tells us that the desire to understand and navigate our inner worlds is not a new fad, but a timeless human pursuit. So what's going on in the brain when this happens? Well, normally during REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex, the logical decision-making part of your brain, is mostly offline. That's why your dreams are often so bizarre and illogical. But in lucid dreams, researchers have observed a little-known detail, a unique neural signature. Brain scans of lucid dreamers show a reactivation in certain areas of the prefrontal cortex, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is associated with self-awareness and reflection. It's a hybrid state of consciousness, a beautiful paradox where your mind is asleep, but a part of you has woken up just enough to realize, I see what's happening here. This is all in my head. Some lucid dreamers can even signal to researchers from within a dream. In sleep labs, participants trained in lucid dreaming have been able to perform agreed-upon eye movements while dreaming, such as looking left, right, left, which can be detected by external monitoring. This might sound like something from a science fiction novel, but it's real. Dreamers in their beds, eyes closed bodies, still are sending subtle Morse code signals from inside their dreams. It's as close as we've come to real-time communication with the dreaming mind. This brings us to a quiet academic debate. Researchers still debate whether lucid dreaming is a purely biological phenomenon, or if it is a kind of learned skill that can be mastered through practice. Is it a rare genetic quirk, or is it a hidden potential that lies within all of us? The very fact that people can train themselves to become lucid dreamers using techniques like the MILD technique, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, or reality checks suggests that it is at least in part a skill that can be cultivated. For example, a reality check involves questioning your environment throughout the day. Am I dreaming? So that you increase the chances of asking the same question while dreaming and realizing the answer is yes. It's a kind of quiet mental training, and the results can be remarkable. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. A reality check is a bit like a secret handshake with the universe. You can try to push your finger through your palm or look at a clock twice to see if the time changes. In a dream, your hand might just go right through your palm, and the clock will probably tell you it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday in the year 2097. The universe is having a little joke with you, but it's a helpful one. Another gentle joke. Lucid dreaming is a bit like being given the keys to a fantasy world. You can fly, you can breathe underwater. You can have a conversation with your cat, who is now a philosopher. But the most common thing people do, they get so excited about flying that they forget to do anything else. It's a reminder that even when we are given ultimate freedom, we often fall back on the simple joys. And here's one more: lucid dreaming is the ultimate choose your own adventure story. But in the end, the only person you can blame for a bad plot twist is yourself. Why did I choose to have a conversation with a talking potato? You might ask yourself. The answer, of course, is because you could. It's a gentle reminder that even in your sleep, you are a co-creator of your own reality. The appeal of lucid dreaming is clear. For some, it's just fun, a chance to explore impossible worlds. For others, it's therapeutic. People who suffer from chronic nightmares, especially those linked to PTSD, have used lucid dreaming to confront and alter their dreams. Imagine being able to turn and face the monster in your recurring nightmare and say, "You're not real, and this is my dream." For some, that moment of control can be deeply healing. It's a way of telling the brain, "We've learned what we needed to. You can let this go now." Ultimately, lucid dreaming is one of those marvels of the human mind that reminds us just how flexible, strange, and mysterious our consciousness really is. The very fact that the brain can become aware of itself while it's dreaming is an astonishing feat of neural gymnastics. It's a quiet testament to the boundless potential of the human mind. So as you continue to relax, to let your mind drift, I want you to hold on to this idea that the world within you is not a locked room. It has doors, and sometimes with a bit of quiet contemplation, you can find the keys. We have explored the magic and the mystery of the dreaming mind, from its creative depths to its conscious navigation. But the truth is, not all dreams are made of marshmallows and whimsy. Sometimes your sleeping mind turns the lights down, turns the volume up, and delivers something far less comforting: a nightmare. Nightmares are the emotional thunderstorms of our dream life. They jolt us awake, leave our hearts racing, and often stick around like a fog long after morning comes. Tonight, we will gently explore the shadows and the storms of the dream world, not to scare you, but to help you understand a natural, if unsettling, part of your nightly journey. A nightmare is a vivid, disturbing dream that typically occurs during REM sleep, the same stage responsible for most of your cinematic, story-like dreams. The big difference is the emotional tone. While your usual REM dream might be bizarre or confusing, a nightmare ramps up the intensity, often triggering fear, anxiety, sadness, or even shame. You might dream of falling, being chased, getting lost, losing someone you love, or finding yourself woefully unprepared for something important. Most people experience nightmares from time to time, and they are perfectly normal if a little unsettling. A general historical fact about nightmares is their connection to real-life emotional experiences. Researchers have found a strong link between nightmares and stress, anxiety, or trauma. In fact, some researchers believe that nightmares serve a similar purpose to regular dreams, helping the brain process difficult emotions, but they do so with a kind of high-voltage intensity. Think of it like your mind running a simulation of a worst-case scenario, trying to prepare you emotionally for danger or distress. In this sense, nightmares might actually be protective, a psychological fire drill, a very unpleasant one, but potentially useful. This is especially true for people with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. For them, nightmares often replay the traumatic event itself either literally or symbolically. This can be a vicious cycle, as the dream becomes a form of re-traumatization rather than a release. This is where treatments like imagery rehearsal therapy come in. This is a little-known detail that is truly beautiful in its simplicity. It's a technique that involves mentally rewriting the nightmare during waking hours, changing the story to something less frightening, and rehearsing the new version repeatedly. Over time, this can reduce the frequency and intensity of the nightmares. It's a way of telling your brain, "We've learned what we needed to. You can let this go now." It is a gentle but powerful way to take control of the shadows. But not all scary sleep experiences are nightmares. There's another lesser-known category, night terrors. Night terrors, also called sleep terrors, are a different beast altogether. They usually occur during non-REM deep sleep, particularly in the early part of the night. And unlike nightmares, which are vivid and dreamlike, night terrors are more like sudden panic storms erupting from the brainstem. A person might sit bolt upright, scream, thrash, sweat, or appear wide-eyed with fear, but they are not fully awake. Their eyes might be open, but they are unreachable, like a phone call with no one on the other end. Often, they will have no memory of the event the next morning. Night terrors are much more common in children than adults, and most kids eventually outgrow them. For parents, they can be distressing to witness, but they are generally harmless and not linked to long-term psychological issues. Then there's the eerie cousin of nightmares and night terrors, sleep paralysis. It happens when your mind wakes up before your body does. You're conscious, but you can't move. Often this state is accompanied by hallucinations, shadows in the room, pressure on the chest, and strange sounds. Historically, these episodes were blamed on demons, witches, or malevolent spirits. Today, we know it's a natural glitch in the REM sleep system, where the muscle paralysis meant to protect you during dreams lingers a little too long after waking. Despite the terrifying sensation, sleep paralysis is harmless, and it usually passes within seconds or minutes. But in the moment, it can feel like being trapped in your own body, a waking nightmare, quite literally. This brings us to a quiet academic debate. Researchers still debate why the brain has such a talent for scaring itself. One theory is that negative emotions are simply more memorable, and evolution has a stake in remembering potential dangers. You're far more likely to remember a dream about escaping a forest fire than one about eating a nice sandwich. The emotional charge helps cement the dream in your memory and makes you more likely to learn from it. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. Nightmares are a bit like your brain's version of a bad stand-up comedy routine. It's trying to make you laugh, but it's just not very good at it. And the punchlines are always about you being late for a test you didn't study for. It's not funny, it's just stressful. But your brain is trying its best. Another gentle joke. Night terrors are like a brain-based jump scare. You're just peacefully sleeping, and then suddenly your brain says, "Boo!" and you sit up in bed screaming. Your brain isn't being malicious. It's just a little bit mischievous. It's like a sibling who likes to play a trick on you, just to get a reaction. And here's one more sleep paralysis is like being stuck in the lobby of a very strange building. The elevator, which is your body, is not working. The people in the lobby, which are your hallucinations, are very strange, and you can't leave. The good news is the elevator will start working eventually. The bad news is it's going to be a very strange few minutes. It's a reminder that even when your body and mind are not in sync, there is still a quiet logic to the chaos. The line between a dream and a nightmare isn't always clear. Some dreams are thrilling, but not frightening, while others are deeply unsettling without being loud or dramatic. The emotional tone is subjective, and what haunts one person might amuse another. But what's clear is that these experiences are a part of the journey. They are the shadows in the dream world, and just like in the waking world, the shadows are often where the most important lessons are learned. So if you've had a nightmare recently, a chase, a fall, a moment of helplessness, know that your brain might just be trying to work something out. And if you woke up heart racing, a little shaken, but safe in your bed, well, that's your brain's way of reminding you it was only a dream. We've journeyed into the shadows and storms of the dream world, understanding how the mind can sometimes scare itself. Now we will take a gentle step further and explore a profound connection, one that is often hidden in the darkness of the night. It is the deep and complex relationship between your dreams and your mental health. They are like two dancers moving through the night, each influencing the other in subtle, unexpected ways. Sometimes dreams reflect our emotional state, other times they amplify it, and in some cases, they might even be trying to help us heal. Let's start with the most obvious connection. When you are stressed, anxious, or emotionally overwhelmed, your dreams tend to get louder. Not literally unless you dream in surround sound, but louder in content. They become more vivid, more emotional, and sometimes more chaotic. You might dream about being chased, lost unprepared, or frozen in place. These dreams are a kind of mirror reflecting the emotional turbulence in your waking life, like an abstract art version of your inner state. A general historical fact in psychiatric research is that people with depression, for example, often report more negative dream content. Their dreams may feel heavy, repetitive, or emotionally flat, mirroring the numbness or sadness they experience while awake. Anxiety disorders, on the other hand, tend to show up as dreams filled with threat pressure or social embarrassment. It's a quiet way for your mind to process the worries that you carry with you throughout the day. This connection runs deeper than just content. The very structure of dreams, how fragmented or coherent they are, can also shift with mental health. People going through intense stress or psychological trauma often experience more fragmented, jarring dreams. It's as if the brain is trying to process too much too quickly without enough glue to hold the pieces together. The result is a kind of dream chaos full of emotional weight, but lacking narrative clarity. This is particularly true in post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). As we've discussed, nightmares are a hallmark symptom of PTSD. But here's a crucial, life-changing, little-known detail. A key reason for this is that in PTSD, the natural emotional processing system of REM sleep seems to break down. In healthy individuals, REM sleep tends to reduce the emotional sting of difficult memories. The dream allows you to revisit the event, but the emotional charge is diminished over time. But in people with trauma, that desensitization process doesn't seem to work properly. The dream becomes more of a re-traumatization than a release. This is why therapies aimed at dreaming-like imagery rehearsal therapy can be so powerful. By rewriting the script of a recurring nightmare, people can gradually change the content of their dreams and reduce their emotional intensity. It's a bit like giving the brain a new play to perform one with less terror and more resolution. This brings us to a quiet academic debate. Researchers still debate the direction of this relationship. Does poor mental health cause negative dreams, or can negative dreams themselves contribute to or worsen mental health issues? The answer, as is often the case, is probably a feedback loop. A person's anxiety might cause them to have more anxious dreams, which in turn makes them wake up feeling more stressed and anxious, creating a cycle that can be difficult to break. It's a reminder that the mind and body are not separate. They are one continuous system, and what happens in one affects the other. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. Think of your dreams as a kind of silent, non-judgmental friend. When you're feeling down, your dreams might sit with you watching a sad movie. When you're stressed, your dreams might take you to a chaotic, nonsensical party. It's not always helpful, but it's always trying to reflect what you're feeling. And sometimes, that reflection is all you need to realize that something is amiss. Another gentle joke. When a psychologist asks you to keep a dream journal, they're not just trying to understand you. They're trying to figure out if your subconscious has a good sense of humor. I dreamt I was a talking spoon, and I was late for a job interview with a muffin. That's not a sign of deep psychological trauma. That's just a sign that your brain is a little bit weird, and that's okay. And here's one more. Your dreams are a bit like a check engine light for your emotional well-being. When the light turns on, you don't always know what's wrong, but you know that something needs to be looked at. And the most beautiful part is the check engine light is always on, working in the background, even when you are not paying attention to it. The good news is that dreams can also be a source of healing and growth. In therapy, clients will sometimes dream about difficult decisions or unresolved feelings. And while the dream doesn't hand them a perfectly wrapped answer, it often nudges them closer to clarity. It's the brain's way of quietly saying, "You're working on this even if you don't realize it." Of course, not all dreams are so profound. Some are just weird, disjointed, or clearly inspired by too much late-night snacking, and that's okay too. Not every dream needs to be meaningful. Sometimes a floating platypus in a bow tie is just a floating platypus in a bow tie. But when dreams do stir something deeper, when they echo the stress you've been ignoring or surface a fear you haven't quite faced, it's worth pausing to notice. Not overanalyze, not panic, just notice. Because your dreaming mind isn't separate from you. It's a nighttime version of yourself, trying in its own strange language to be understood. So if you're going through a hard time and your dreams are darker, stranger, or more intense, be gentle with yourself. Your mind is still processing, still working even in the dark. And if your dreams are softer, kinder, or quietly hopeful, hold on to that too. Sometimes the subconscious leads us toward healing before we're even awake enough to see it. We have explored the intricate connection between dreams and our own mental health, seeing how the quiet work of the night is a reflection of the emotional life we lead. But as we drift deeper into the mysteries of the mind, a question arises that reaches far beyond the boundaries of our own species. We've talked about human dreams, but what about the dreams of other creatures? Have you ever watched a dog sleeping soundly on the floor? Paws twitching, tail flicking, maybe even letting out a muffled bark or two. Or a cat stretched out on a windowsill, whiskers, twitching legs, paddling as if it's chasing something in its sleep. If you've ever wondered whether animals dream, the answer, according to science, is probably yes. This is a beautiful idea, isn't it? That dreaming is not a uniquely human experience, but a language shared by many of the creatures we share our planet with. Of course, they can't tell us about it. No golden retriever has sat down to describe their dream about a field of flying tennis balls. But science has given us a few clues, and the evidence is pretty convincing. Let's start with the basics. Almost all mammals and many birds experience REM sleep, the same phase of sleep in which humans do most of their dreaming. A general historical fact in sleep science is that this stage of sleep, characterized by irregular brain activity, temporary muscle paralysis, and darting eye movements, is a near universal feature of mammalian sleep. In animals, this looks very familiar. You'll often see the twitching, the flickering eyes, the occasional sleep bark or meow. It's like a silent movie playing behind their eyelids. But brain scans offer even stronger evidence. In a now famous study at MIT, researchers trained rats to run through a maze while their brain activity was recorded. Specific patterns of neurons would fire as the rats moved through the maze, sort of like a song their brains played while solving the puzzle. Later, while the rats slept, researchers observed those exact same neural patterns replaying during REM sleep. It was as if the rats were dreaming about the maze, running it again in their minds, perhaps reinforcing the memory or mentally practicing for the next day's challenge. The same song was playing, only now the lights were off. Birds too show signs of dreaming. Zebra finches, for example, have been studied for their complex singing behavior. When they sleep, their brains replay the neural patterns used in singing, almost as if they're rehearsing their songs while unconscious. Dream karaoke, if you will. A little-known detail that adds to the mystery is that recent studies suggest that even reptiles, long thought to be too simple for REM, might have a kind of dreamlike sleep as well. Certain species of lizards exhibit sleep cycles with activity resembling both REM and non-REM sleep. It's still early days in this area of research, but it raises a fascinating possibility. Dreaming might be a much older evolutionary trait than we once believed, a kind of foundational consciousness shared by a much broader range of creatures than we ever imagined. This leads us to a quiet academic debate. Researchers still debate what animals actually dream about. While we can observe neural patterns and behaviors, we can't ask a cat, "Did you dream about hunting?" Or a squirrel, "Were you in a tiny nut-themed amusement park?" But we can make some reasonable guesses. Animals probably dream about things that matter to them: navigating their territory, social bonding, hunting, playing, eating. The content may not be symbolic or metaphorical. Like human dreams, sometimes are no existential angst or surreal metaphors, but they're likely grounded in experience. In this way, dreaming might serve similar functions across species: memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and behavioral rehearsal. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. When your dog kicks its legs while sleeping, it's not just running in place. It's probably in a dream chasing a dream squirrel, and the dream squirrel is just a little bit faster than the waking kind. It's a chase scene that will never end, which for a dog is probably the best kind of dream. Another gentle joke. A cat softly snoring on the windowsill is probably dreaming about being a tiny fluffy lion stalking a dream gazelle that is inexplicably made of tinfoil. It's a very serious hunt, and the cat is doing a very good job of it. And here's one more. When you see a horse lying down and twitching in its sleep, it's probably dreaming about galloping across a field that exists only in its mind. The field is green, the sun is shining, and there are no fences. It's a beautiful, simple dream, and a reminder that even the most grounded creatures have a little bit of magic in their minds. The idea of dreams across the species also raises fascinating philosophical questions. If a rat dreams, does it have a sense of self in that dream? Do animals distinguish between the real and the imagined? And most intriguingly, what would a dream feel like to a creature that can't describe it in words? Maybe dreaming is one of those universal brain languages, a way for all creatures great and small to replay, remember, and reflect. Maybe it's not uniquely human after all, but something woven deep into the fabric of life itself. So next time your dog kicks their legs in their sleep, or your cat chirps quietly into the night, let them be. Let them chase dream birds or bark at dream postmen. They are voyaging too through inner landscapes you'll never see, but that exist, nonetheless real in the only way dreams ever are. And as you drift off tonight, you might smile, knowing you're not alone. Somewhere nearby, another creature is dreaming too. We have journeyed through the landscapes of the dreaming mind, from twitching lab rats and philosophical speculations to the quiet healing work of the night. We have seen that dreaming is not a uniquely human experience, but a shared language of life. But before we drift toward the end of this quiet journey, there's one last question worth asking. Where is all this going? What does the future hold for dream science? The truth is, we're on the edge of something remarkable. For the first time in human history, our tools are catching up to our questions. Technology, neuroscience, and even artificial intelligence are combining in strange and beautiful ways, offering not just glimpses into the dreaming mind, but the potential to shape it, to enhance it, and maybe even to share it. For most of human history, dreams have been private, a world seen by one person alone, fleeting, mysterious, and often forgotten by morning. You might wake up with the fragments of a story in your head, a face, a place, or a peculiar sense of having felt something. But try to explain it to someone else, and the magic slips through your fingers. Dreams until very recently were like whispers in a locked room. But now scientists are picking at the lock. It starts as many brainy things do with machines and squiggly lines. Researchers have long used EEG electroencephalography to monitor brainwaves during sleep. EEG is great for tracking the different stages of sleep, from light sleep to deep sleep and REM. But it doesn't tell you what someone is dreaming about. For that, you need a more detailed picture. That's where fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, comes in. It lets scientists see which parts of the brain are active and when. This leads us to a fascinating general historical fact about the field of neurotechnology. In a groundbreaking experiment in Japan, researchers at the ATR Computational Neuroscience Laboratories asked participants to fall asleep in an fMRI machine. They then monitored their brain activity during the early stages of sleep, when brief dream imagery begins. The clever bit, before the experiment participants had been shown hundreds of images, cats, buildings, people while awake, and their brain activity was recorded. Each image created a kind of neural fingerprint. Then during sleep, when similar patterns showed up, the researchers could compare them to the waking data. And it worked. With about 60% accuracy, the team could guess what kind of image the person was dreaming about. They couldn't describe the dream's plot or emotions, but they could identify what was being visualized. It was the first real peek behind the curtain of a sleeping mind. Now 60% might not sound like a lot, but considering we're talking about guessing thoughts from neural patterns in a sleeping brain, it's remarkable. It was like watching someone's dreams from the outside, albeit in low resolution and without sound. This leads to a quiet academic debate. Researchers still debate the extent to which we can truly read a dream. The activation synthesis hypothesis would suggest that what we're seeing is not a coherent narrative, but just the brain's attempt to make sense of random signals. But the fact that the brain can recall a specific image from the waking world and reproduce its neural fingerprint during a dream suggests that there is more going on than just random noise. The question is a beautiful one, and it gets to the heart of what a dream truly is. There is also the field of targeted dream incubation. This is a fascinating and a little bit sci-fi idea. This is a little-known detail that is truly on the cutting edge of sleep science. It involves playing specific sounds or words during sleep to gently guide the content of a dream. For example, if someone is learning a new language, they might hear vocabulary in their sleep to reinforce memory. Or if they want to dream about, say, flying, they might hear ambient wind sounds or soft cues about the sky. It's not full-blown dream control, but it's a gentle nudge in a chosen direction. Imagine combining that with wearable sleep tech headbands that monitor your brainwaves or earbuds that deliver cues only during REM. You could one day guide your dreams to help solve problems, rehearse speeches, or gently work through emotional blocks. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. Imagine the future of dream therapy. You would go to your therapist and say, "I'm having trouble with my boss." And the therapist would say, "I see. Tonight, we will try to incubate a dream in which you are a giant talking hamster and your boss is a tiny adorable bird." It's not a solution, but it's a start. Another gentle joke. The future of dream decoding will probably be a bit like watching a very strange movie. You'll see a blurry image of a car, a blurry image of a cat, and a blurry image of a building, and you'll have to guess that the person was dreaming about a cat driving a car through a city. It's a kind of interpretive art form, a collaboration between the dreamer, the machine, and the interpreter. And here's one more. When you have a dream that you've just invented a new kind of machine, you can now show the blueprints to your friends. They won't understand them, but they'll be very impressed by the fact that you can show them. It's the ultimate show and tell, but with a lot less logic and a lot more strange, surreal images. Of course, this raises some very big and very ethical questions. Dreams are private by nature. They're one of the last unfiltered expressions of the self, a space where no one else can follow. So, if the day comes when we can record or decode dreams with precision, what happens to that privacy? Will we need dream passwords? Will there be legal protections for the content of our subconscious? This is why the idea of neurorights has started to enter the conversation. Basic protections for mental privacy, freedom of thought, and the sanctity of the self. there are also possibilities for healing. Imagine a future where people with PTSD receive personalized dream therapy using sound cues or gentle neural stimulation to help reprocess traumatic memories in a safer way. Or where children with anxiety are taught how to shape their dreams through guided storylines, turning fears into adventures. The future of dream science may bring new tools, new therapies, and new ways to connect. But for all this dazzling technology, there's something quietly reassuring to remember. Dreaming at its core doesn't require gadgets. You don't need an app, a headband, or a lab. Your brain already has everything it needs to dream, to remember, to process, to create, to wander. All you need is sleep and perhaps a little curiosity. We've wandered through the landscapes of the dreaming mind, from twitching lab rats and philosophical speculations to REM sleep and the quiet nightly work of the brain. We have seen that dreaming is not just noise, it's a silent art form, a strange and beautiful thing that our minds do every single night. We have learned that the mind is a storyteller, a traveler, a quiet projector in the dark, replaying old scenes and improvising new ones. But before we come to the very end of this journey, there's a final reflection to be had, a final quiet thought to settle on before we gently guide you toward your own peaceful journey into sleep. The truth is, for all the brain scans, all the theories, all the scientific breakthroughs, dreams still remain one of the last truly mysterious frontiers of the human experience. They slip through the cracks of explanation. They are part science, part soul. They are messy, mysterious, and profoundly human. They are the quiet proof that even while we rest, the mind is anything but still. A general historical fact about the human experience of dreams is how universally they are valued, despite our lack of understanding. Throughout history and across all cultures, dreams have been seen as a source of wisdom, a connection to something beyond ourselves, and a window into the self. From the most ancient texts to the most modern poetry, the dream has been a central metaphor for the unexplainable parts of our lives. It's a testament to the idea that even when we can't explain something, we can still recognize its beauty and its power. A little-known detail that adds a layer of depth to this final reflection is how dreams can serve as a form of emotional reconciliation. Think of the mind as a vast, quiet lake. The events of the day are like stones thrown into the water, creating ripples and disturbances. During the night, your brain processes these events, and the emotional ripples slowly dissipate. A dream can be the final gentle wave that washes over a difficult memory, leaving the water calm again. It's not a conscious process. It's a quiet, subconscious one. It is the mind's way of finding peace in the aftermath of a storm. This leads us to a quiet academic debate. Researchers still debate whether a dream in its most basic form is a biological function or a form of consciousness. Is it a byproduct of a series of chemical reactions, or is it a brief, strange form of awareness that we are only just beginning to recognize? This question is at the very heart of what it means to be human. It's the question of whether we are simply a collection of neurons and synapses, or if there is something more, something that can create a world of wonder and beauty in the silent darkness of the night. Let's allow for a moment of gentle humor. A dream is a bit like a very strange, very long joke. You hear the setup, you hear the punchline, and you have no idea why it was funny, but for a moment, it made perfect sense. And the best part is you are the only one who gets it, which makes it even more special. Another gentle joke. Your brain is a bit like a very enthusiastic, but very disorganized party planner. Every night it throws a party for you, and the guests are a random assortment of people. You've met animals you've seen, and objects you've encountered. The food is always strange, the music is always off-key, but the host, your brain, is always having a good time. And here's one more. The final joke of the dreaming mind is that it will show you the most amazing, most beautiful, most profound things you have ever seen, and then it will let you forget them the moment you wake up. It's a way of saying, you don't need to remember everything. You just need to experience it. And that, my friends, is a beautiful, beautiful lesson. So as you drift off tonight, remember that your mind is about to launch into a beautifully choreographed routine, complete with waves, spindles, and dream sequences. You may not remember all of it, but your body and your mind will thank you. Your dreams are not just mental noise. They're part of the conversation, the ongoing dialogue between your brain, your body, and your heart. And like all good conversations, sometimes the most important parts happen late at night when everything else is still. And so here we are, gently gliding back from the strange, beautiful world of dreams. We have tiptoed through REM cycles, wandered the halls of memory, listened to the whispering amygdala, and even peeked just a little into the future of dream science. We have seen that dreams aren't just nighttime noise. They're stories your brain tells itself, sometimes clumsy, sometimes profound, always intimate. What we know so far is astonishing, but what we don't know may be even more wondrous. Because for all the brain scans and neural maps, dreams still slip through the cracks of explanation. They remain, in many ways, the mind's poetry, part science, part soul. So as you drift off tonight, whether your brain takes you on an epic adventure, a quiet memory, or something so bizarre it defies all logic, let it. You don't need to understand every detail. You just need to let go. Your brain knows what it's doing, and if this video has made you just a little too fascinated to fall asleep, well, I apologize, but at least you might have learned something along the way. A fair trade, I hope. Before we part ways, if you enjoyed this slow journey through the sleeping brain, I'd be truly grateful if you gave the video a gentle thumbs up, subscribed to The Sleepy Scientist, or left a comment below. Where are you listening from tonight, and what time is it in your corner of the world? I'd love to know where this little cloud of calm has drifted. Until next time, sleep well, dream freely, and remember, your mind is still writing stories.